Award-winning investigative journalist R Nadeswaran, also known as Citizen Nades, once described as the scariest man in Malaysia, is a man some politicians hate with a passion. For 17 years, he kept readers enthralled with his Citizen Nades column in The Sun. At the same time, the column was essential reading for members of the Malaysian cabinet. Today, Citizen Nades is a content creator under the NewsWave Creator Program, where you get to express yourself, be a citizen journalist, and at the same time reach millions of users on NewsWave, Malaysia's #1 content aggregator. Author of books Some Untold Stories and Curi-Curi Malaysia, we invited Citizen Nades to learn more about his latest point of views, and in particular, what he refers to as the truth deficiency syndrome facing the government and rakyat today. Assalamualaikum and welcome to another episode of Cuba Cerita. Thank you for joining us. We really take pleasure in hosting these podcast sessions. Today, I'd like to thank once again Datuk Fitri and the team at Bayang Coffee Cafe in Taman Tun Dr. Ismail for graciously hosting us for this session. Now, today, I always say we've got special guests, but I really mean it. The area that we are looking for obviously is points of views, and in this session today we managed to invite a leading investigative journalist, a name who's very familiar to all of you. He goes by the names Citizen Nades. He's none other than R Nadeswaran, who is retired from mainstream media but still is very active on online media. So welcome, Nades. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's a pleasure. You know, Nades, we have had in the past guests who have presented their points of views on various topics. Not forgetting to mention Dato' MH, whose book has now gone up to #1 on the booksellers list. He talks about 7 missed chances of Malaysia, presenting his point of view. And you are very much alike in terms of what we would like to see in terms of your point of view about things. And of course, you're always touching on current affairs, obviously controversial issues. And I also note that you're not anti-government.
I'm actually anti-bad governance.
Bad governance, that's right. And maybe we can touch whether it's one and the same. Okay, now, for the benefit of the viewers, I'm sure a lot more of the senior generation will recall the Citizen Nades bi-weekly columns that used to appear in The Edge, in The Sun. And it's already a household name, or all the issues and points of views you used to raise. Maybe if I can just, for the sake of those viewers or listeners who are not totally familiar, from what I read about you, you started in journalism, or rather, being a sports stringer with the Malay Mail way back in the 60s when you were even still in secondary school. Eventually your career moved you into investigative journalism. And since then, you become a household name. You were the one who actively pursued the PKFZ, the Port Klang Free Zone scandal. You wrote a book, Some Untold Stories. You are the one who, if we recall, who even exposed the then Senator, Dato' Eng Yen Yen, who was actually a Dewan Negara Senator, and yet she had already obtained PR status in Australia. So these are certain things which were very, in a way, quite comical in some ways, but yet it was the truth, and yet these were issues which couldn't just go unheeded in one way.
But the sad part of it is nothing happened.
Well, that's the thing.
Right.
That's the thing. And maybe that's something that we will cover. I think that's also how you even talk about this thing about the truth deficiency syndrome,
Yes.
which seems to be even more so concerning in this day of social media, where people can just present their views and the public is being told a certain thing, but things go a certain different way. Sometimes it's hard to comprehend. So a lot of things to talk about. So please, if I can just begin by asking you a bit more about who is this Citizen Nades? What were your earliest motivations for you to be involved and become the investigative journalist that everyone knows now?
Okay. Let me start. I had started at a rather very young age on doing things like this for the public. When I was in Form 2, 13 plus, we had a major problem in our neighborhood in Klang, Jalan Teluk Pelai.
Oh.
First, there was no public telephone. Okay, and whenever we wanted to use the phone, emergency, you go and catch our neighbor, plead with him. You will make a call, leave 10 cents for him. And I decided to get the neighborhood together, and we signed. I went around house to house, got a petition to Jabatan Telecom at that time.
Wow.
Right. I'm talking about 1964. Okay.
Goodness.
Some of you may have not been born then. So after 3 months, somebody knocked on my door. It was people from Jabatan Telecom, and they wanted to put the phone in front of my house.
The public phone.
Public phone. I said, come on, this is ridiculous. I said, further down the road there are 3 shops, Kedai Runcit, Kedai Dobi and all that. And I said, you put it there, that'll be most convenient. And that became Jalan Teluk Pelai's first public phone.
Goodness.
Right. And then there was an issue of, in Teluk Pelai, we did not have a railway station. They called it a halt.
Halt.
Right? There was no platform. Again, another round of letters to Malayan Railways, and we got a platform.
And you were writing those letters in those days?
Yeah, actually all this came about. I used to be writing letters to the editor of Straits Times then.
Oh.
The only newspaper,
Okay.
which I read at least. It was not the New Straits Times, it was the Straits Times.
Yes.
And my letter on complaining about the conditions of the market in Klang was published. And after that, everybody in the neighborhood came to me to help. Even after starting to work in the Malay Mail, I had to carry my typewriter home from KL to Klang, because in the evenings when word gets around I'm back in town, back at home, there'll be aunties all coming with their problem. So, I did kind of social service, which was satisfying. People appreciated what you did. That's how I started. And when I joined the when I became a stringer, it was just covering sports.
Okay.
And then I got my big break in 1997. The air crash, which is now history. Rescued a baby from the Japan Airlines crash.
I see.
And then I was immediately offered a job in the New Straits Times group. I think I worked in the sports section hardly 2 weeks. When I looked around and I said, there are better prospects doing general news instead of sticking to sports. So I joined the general news desk, and there was no turning back.
Right. And I guess in those days, columnists were just columnists.
Oh,
right?
Until you had 10 years experience,
Yes,
never
I
dream
heard.
of becoming a columnist.
Really?
Yes.
So you became more inclined towards investigative
Yes.
journalism,
Yeah.
obviously looking at peculiar cases and exposing
No,
certain
you see, the
things.
thing is this: if you dismiss something on the surface
Yes.
and write it as a news story,
Uh-huh.
it is not complete.
Okay.
So I always thought I would look behind the story. Right, so it became traditional or a part of me to look behind the scenes. Let me give you this example. of of a simple lucky draw. Okay. Those days, if you all remember, they'll open all the entries and dump in a heap, and somebody will jump in and pick out.
Okay.
So I wrote, after writing the story, I just checked and I discovered it's a game of chance. It's no more skill involved.
Okay, yes.
Right?
All right.
So then the Deputy Minister of Finance, Sabaruddin Sheikh, confirmed it's a game of chance and asked it to be stopped.
Oh, this lottery.
No, it's not like this lucky draws.
Lucky draws, lucky draws.
You see, for example, mostly done by beverage companies
Yes.
at that time. Okay?
Yes.
So you take the crown cork, put it there, and you send. Hopefully, you will win because it's so easy. The questions.
But the chances of
the
winning.
chances. It's a game of chance.
It's a game of chance. Okay. So you highlighted this to the powers that be, and then they decided maybe it's not something that's meant to happen that way. Okay. So what was it like? Slowly you were building your reputation, your credibility as a source, and obviously I remember people would look forward to your columns coming out.
Yeah.
I used to read them too when I was even in those days, and it was always interesting because people are waiting for what is going to be exposed in a way lah. Yeah. So are you by nature someone who likes to expose things?
No, it is not. It's not by nature.
Okay.
It happens to fall on your lap, and if you don't do anything, because of the credibility I established,
Yes.
people trusted me. If you remember the large billboard scandal,
Okay.
right, in PJ, where advertisers or billboard companies were paying for the license by donating to the sports club.
Yes.
I thought it's totally wrong. Right?
Local council sports
So
clubs.
as I started writing, documents started landing in my office.
So people send you things.
People send.
Of course, in some ways you could call them like surat layang also lah, or
It's not
factual information.
It's not surah, part of documents.
Documents.
Minutes of meetings were turning up in my office.
Really? Wow. So you became that source of.
Yeah.
So you must have actually, how would I say, irked a lot of people.
Of course.
Was it? I mean.
Yeah, I'm not in a popularity contest.
In fact.
You see, another thing, another example is, I went back to Klang for my school OBA dinner.
Okay.
And the guys there, all my ex-classmates, schoolmates, all enjoying ourselves. And I said, "You useless are you to us? You are writing all the KL PJ stories. The biggest scandal is in Port Klang." That's how the Port Klang PKFZ raised.
Oh. I see. Because you were once regarded as the scariest man in Malaysia.
Yes.
Can you share how did that come about?
No, that came about as an advertisement for the Sun.
Oh.
All right.
Okay.
So that was quite a thing. As being named the scariest man, even scared me. But I think the campaign was successful. It was not only me, we had Terence and Bob Holmes and Pat Noni in all our columns. It was a good campaign.
And I also know that the respect for you from your point of view and your objectivity was even recognized by MACC at once. You were in 2015, you were appointed to one of their special panels.
Yes, I was in the prevention panel.
Wow.
And I got kicked out 1 year later because I asked too many questions of 1MDB. And that was the height of the 1MDB story had broken. And a lot of us were not reappointed. Those
I see.
of us who were vocal in questioning some of the deals were not renewed.
But the whole idea of you being appointed to that panel was to strengthen MACC's process and procedures, I guess.
No. In my panel was actually prevention and education.
Prevention and education.
But if if you sit on a panel like that, MACC panel, surely you are entitled to ask questions,
Sure.
right? I remember all the panels, there were 4 panels at the time. We were all invited for a briefing. I had to sign
Non-disclosure.
non-disclosure, it was more an official secret act document,
Okay.
where they talked about their trip to Middle East to meet the donor. All right, now it's all coming out. But at that time already, we had questioned, who did you meet? Who is the guy? In fact, subsequently I wrote a satirical piece saying a doctor being hired, an actor, out of work actor, being hired by Jolo to pretend to be the prince.
My goodness. And all of this was discovered early on, but
Well-
only later exposed.
No, the thing is this, at that time, this was 2014, 2015,
Yes.
and of course in 2016, it was the night of the long knives. MACC chief was removed.
Okay. Was this
Gani
Tan Sri-
Patel was,
Gani-
Tan Sri Abu Qasim
Abu
was
Qasim,
removed.
yes.
Tan Sri Gani Patel was removed.
Yes.
Zeti said another 6 months, right? So the heads were rolling. In the case of MACC, number 1, number 2, number 3 were just removed. Tan Sri Abu Qasim, his deputy, 2 deputies, Shukri Abdul and Datuk Mustafa, were all removed.
Yes. I remember that. Alright. And so you were witness to all of this happening, and can I ask you, were you ever yourself detained or subject to questioning of a certain nature, given the level of exposure that you were
No,
highlighting?
unfortunately not.
Unfortunately not.
I was willing to provide the document on whatever I wrote, because I had the documents. Actually, I had a very close working relationship with MACC, including the Tan Sri Abu Qasim and Dr. Shukri and all of them. And whenever I provide something, said these are the documents. And those days there was one phrase which I still don't forget. Belum ada mandate lagi.
Belum ada mandate lagi. So people have to wait for mandates before they act lah. Okay. Now, obviously, and I've also come to know of your books. Unfortunately, I've not had a chance to read, but Curi-Curi Malaysia is an interesting one, and Scandals and Scoundrels, a collection of essays on 1MDB and related issues. Are these still up in bookstores?
No, my books are never sold in bookstores.
Oh, so if people were interested in buying this,
I think I do promotional sales.
Okay.
I give talks and sell it.
okay.
But I still got some copies for you if you want. Like,
Well, certainly, I mean, if there's an opportunity for our viewers and listeners to obtain a copy,
Yeah.
maybe we'll flash it on the screen and it can be directed to you,
yeah,
if you
let's
don't mind.
see
Yeah.
okay.
But tell me, I mean, if I were to ask you about this book, Curi-Curi Malaysia, which is a compilation of different stories and
this is not a
episodes.
compilation. This is the stories behind the stories.
The stories behind the stories, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any one particular story that, for the sake of today's podcast, that you'd like to say, wow, you didn't see it going that way, or my goodness, it became something a lot more than what it was initially anticipated to be? Share with us a story.
The story about Zakaria Valdurus.
Okay,
Right, he was a railway gatekeeper,
all right.
an UMNO warlord, so to speak. He built his house on land meant for low-cost housing. He built a mansion, 16 rooms and 21 bathrooms.
This is the one he eventually passed away
Yeah.
before. And was it on land that was gazetted for
Low-cost housing.
low-cost housing?
In fact, behind this building, he owns 2 low-cost houses, which is combined into one, and nobody dared stop him. What he wanted, he got.
Yeah. And how were these sort of like cases. It sounds quite isolated.
Yeah.
Of course, it was a big thing for that day.
Yeah.
But how was that case sort of like brought to your attention?
Oh, this one through another schoolmate of mine,
Okay.
my junior in school.
Okay.
He took me there, showed me the palace, and started investigating.
Mm.
When we went to the council to check whether the authenticity of this building, and they said no plans were submitted. This man was sitting as a councillor.
Just built it.
Just built it. He couldn't be bothered.
It's a massive mansion. I remember that story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. And then add to this, his son had a sati stall out on the main road, and there was a OKU guy, handicapped guy, operating a similar stall, and he got the council to robo his stall. That I think was too much. So that's how powerful he was, and he was brought down to earth by the expose on his house, his mansion.
I hear that you also get a lot of commendations from ministers or those in power for the work that you are doing.
No.
Doesn't it help to keep the public servants?
What commendation?
No,
Yes, I got a commendation from those days in the 80s from the DG of prisons.
Oh, you did?
I was doing voluntary work in prisons,
Oh.
involved in rehabilitation of prisoners.
Oh.
Those days from Pudu prison, we used to take a group of them for picnics, right, and all that, so that they can assimilate into society when they are released. So after the change in the leadership at prison level, things changed. The new DG did not want this kind of thing. But Dr. Ibrahim was a great man. He's the one who negotiated and raided the hostage taker. They both in Pudu prison and in Kuantan prison.
Oh. So that's one of those, So again, that was social community work that you were doing, very much behind the scenes. Okay.
Otherwise, there's no commendation. The ministers were hoping I will retire for good.
So now that you've retired, you actually are still actively contributing to Newsweb,
No, I write for Malaysia Kini.
Malaysia Kini.
Yeah, and articles also appear in Newsweb.
So Newsweb is like is an aggregator.
Aggregator.
I see.
So I think I don't have fixed dates I might write.
Okay.
If there's something which I think should be addressed,
Yes.
then I take it on.
Yes.
Otherwise, I just relax. Sometimes for 2 weeks I don't write anything.
Really?
Sometimes I write 3 times in a week.
Really? But your turnaround, I notice, is quite fast because I receive all the aggregated news from Newsweb and a lot of your articles.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, just out of interest, what about personalities that you have met in the course of your, investigative journalism? Who sort of like, strike a memory, a chord about, the experience engaging with them? Anyone? to
Yes,
mention?
I will tell you about the guy who painted the Pudu prison wall. He was a convict inside.
And?
And when he was released, he was a regular visitor to the office.
Oh.
He kept in touch with me for a while. Each time he came, it was for money.
Okay.
For his drug habit.
Oh.
So after a while, I said, enough.
Yes.
Take him to the canteen, eat as much as you want, I'll pay for it, or take him to the coffee shop nearby.
Okay.
And that's it. I said, this cannot go on until you give up your drugs.
Your drugs. But his case was not in any way involved, or rather led through your investigative journalism.
No,
he was just
my relation with him was in 1985. I took the prison wall pictures and everything, entry into the Guinness Book of Records, the longest mural painting.
Oh yes. Was that you?
Yeah, I took it to London, got it listed.
Oh.
For 1 year it was listed. After that it was taken off because they didn't have a category for that.
Longest prison mural.
No, longest mural on a wall.
Okay.
It was really long. And we got people from the survey department to come and measure it and certify it so that I could take it to London.
So London, when you talk about London, it also reminds me of that scandal once where the government, through the Ministry of Sports, invested heavily in the
Brickendenbury.
yes.
Yeah,
That
until
was-
that was very interesting. Okay. It was a parliamentary answer or discussed in Parliament that the government is intending to build a sports centre.
Okay.
And having been to Brickendenbury long time ago, I knew it was not possible, right? Because it's so far out of town, like a Ulu place,
Okay.
right? There's bus service once an hour, right? Because it's surrounded by potato fields and everything else. So I said something is fishy, and it said that plans have been submitted to the local council for approval. So I immediately sent letters out. This was during the World Cup in Germany. What year was that? 2000 and
Yeah.
2000.
Four. Yeah, around that time. Yeah.
Young.
Yeah.
So you know how efficient UK councils are.
Yes.
They listed all the councillors' email address.
And you could choose, and
I sent to all 24,
goodness.
and I got replies. Said no way will approve this and all that. Okay,
Wow.
that's not the end of it. I was going on with this story,
Yes.
and I had a chance to go to Denmark, a sponsored trip. Not to Denmark, to Athens.
Okay, Greece. Yeah.
But we were all, the base was Denmark. We were sponsored by Carlsberg.
All right.
Okay, so we went for the Champions League final.
Okay.
AC Milan and Liverpool.
Okay. Yes, I remember that match.
Okay, so instead of coming back after the game, we all were taken in a chartered flight from Athens to Denmark to Copenhagen.
Yes.
Next day to connect our flights.
Okay.
I delayed my return. Meanwhile, I had booked a EasyJet flight to London. That night, when everybody was going back to the hotel, I was picking up my suitcase and going to London. So I went to London, went to Brickendenbury again, talked to the people there, and came back with a story. All hell broke loose here in Kuala Lumpur. People got to my editor Ho Ketat and said Nades was never there. He relying on a reporter in East Herts. Actually, I did. I
You were
connected with
actually
him.
there.
Yeah, both of us went there. So next day, Ketat, you got photograph of you there? I say yes. I got myself posting beside the park. Okay,
Of the site.
fine. I wrote another story. I was there, kind of thing. They threatened to put us in jail, me and the editor. We don't stop.
Okay, that.
Okay, that. And I were the victims.
Really.
So
there were threats.
yeah,
They were, in a way,
not directly to me.
bullying.
Not directly to me.
And but the story eventually became bigger and bigger.
The council did not approve it.
There was maybe there was no real plans also.
No, there were plans. They changed architects
Okay.
because architect, you're paying the fees, he will draw up the plans for you and submit
Yeah,
the plans.
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So they changed architects, two architects, two different sets of architects submitted plans. Both were rejected.
But you think that such major initiatives like this would be more of a G to G sort of thing,
You
right?
cannot, you see, it does not work G to G. That's what everybody thought.
they're
right?
thinking.
They was also thinking about the arms deal. We were buying arms from UK,
Yeah,
so they
I
thought
see.
it would be
Part of it,
can
part of
count in
it.
this thing. But the councils are so independent,
Yeah.
right? So it did not happen.
And eventually everything just gets brushed under the carpet.
Yes,
Malaysia's got a short memory.
We spent about 5 to 8 million
Yeah.
on architects' fees, and our rombongan was going there.
So, in a way, you do cross paths with politicians,
Yes.
ministers. Has there ever been a case where you've crossed paths with Tun M himself?
No.
Interesting, eh?
No. You see, the thing is, the kind of beat I was doing, crime, police, and I didn't go for press conferences like this. So it was the only time I had two sparring sessions.
With whom?
One with Neo Yipan,
Okay.
the former Minister of Housing and Local Government.
Okay.
There were some amendments to the Pawnbrokers Act, the regulations, which required pawn shops to send notices
I see.
to pawnies to come and redeem their their pawn articles. This regulation was removed. So
For reason being?
no reason, it's too much hassle and
Much
all
hassle.
that. So I was at the press conference. I said, this is wrong. People should know. And went on. And he was defending it. And I said, you're behaving as if you're working for the pawnbrokers. All hell broke loose. And I came back to the office. My news editor at that time was Philip Matthews. He was on the phone, and they called me in. You did the right thing,
Okay.
but don't be rude. Okay.
Yeah.
The second was, it was reported after my book launch. Port Klang Authority, they bought the wrong equipment, and I got inside info, and was arguing. Goh Cheng Teck was then deputy minister, and he said, "Young man, you're speaking as if you represent the supplier of this." I said, "That's a very serious accusation.
Yeah.
I please withdraw it," I said.
Yeah.
And he turned,
Yeah.
"No, I was just joking." I said, "Malay Mail does not produce jokers." Those are
Yeah.
exact words.
Really,
Right? And he finally said, "I'm sorry."
Trying to be funny,
Yeah.
yeah?
So I've got this kind of encounters with so-called politicians.
Yeah, yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I mean, I didn't mean to single out Tun M for any particular reason. It's just that because of the person that he is, and it would have been interesting as an encounter, one would say. But again, it is what it is. Now,
But I must tell you one of my better encounters with Tun at that time, Dato' Hussein On. Outside Parliament, I ambushed him because Malaysia had bought 5 LNG tankers, and the plant in Bintulu
okay,
was not ready yet.
okay,
So I thought it's a big story to write. So I went, ambushed him in Parliament, walked with him to the car, and he put his arm around me and told me, "Young man, there's no story here. We can use the tankers. We're going to release the tankers until the plant is ready. That's all I've got to tell you." And he was very nice and civil about it.
yeah, yeah. That was the generation of leaders who were very composed and enigmatic in their
let me
ways.
tell you about the leaders. Okay, my editor, he was not my editor. I had already left. He used to relate this story. Felix Abhishaganathan, the big name in journalism those days.
Okay.
He and Malan Abdullah were the two big names in the industry. Malan, the late Malan, was the editor-in-chief of Utusan. So Felix told all of us, young reporters, Tunku used to invite all editors to the house for dinner once a month. And then, those days drinks flowed.
Sure.
Everybody was in jovial mood.
Yes.
Tunku's wife used to cook for them. There was no catering, nothing. Simple food. And Tunku used to ask each one of them, this policy, how are people reacting to it? And he was getting feedback. Tun Razak did the same.
This is feedback from the ground.
From the ground. But since then,
Right.
Politicians want to be high and mighty prime ministers.
And they just maybe circle
See,
themselves with a small
and then
group.
the sad part is, when KDN, Ministry of Home Affairs, called for meeting with editors.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got selected editors too among themselves. Right? There's one briefing for us,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a selective briefing for the others.
I see.
Mm.
So they just want to hear what they want to hear, lah.
No. This is briefing. They tell us what
Oh,
to
they
do.
tell us. Oh, tell us what to do. And people have to toe the line, or they choose to toe the line.
You see, one of the things people always ask me, why are your newspapers don't want to write this and that? I said, listen, if they suspend the newspaper license, in my case, 400 people will be out of a job.
Mm-hmm.
There's no income
Mm-hmm.
because it happened to the Star, happened to Watan,
Yep.
happened to Sinchiu.
Yep.
So there's always behind your mind, right? Be careful.
Yeah.
Although there's freedom per se,
Yeah.
be careful because the law is so powerful.
Yeah.
And this government wanted to abolish these laws. Instead, now they're adding more clauses to the laws and tightening the laws.
The government of the day.
Now today,
Which I think is a bit of a segue into what is it that's maybe topical of the moment, that's that you've expressed a point of view about, that's worthwhile for the listeners and viewers to know about or follow up on.
of course, I've always been pushing for transparency, making public issues. For example, I wrote about it today about the land issue.
Okay.
Right? How many parcels of land does DBKL own? Nobody knows.
As in the government owns.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kuala Lumpur City Hall owns in
Yes.
Kuala Lumpur.
Okay.
Right? How many parcels of land, how many acres it is, how much has been sold, nobody knows. I just discovered this morning that a clinic Kesihatan was closed and the land sold to a developer.
So the existing clinic Kesihatan closed, and the land where it's sited is
It's already
being
sold to the
sold
developer.
to a developer, and the existing clinic would have been relocated somewhere.
I do not know where I got to go and do the checking. But similarly with the velodrome, we had a nice velodrome in Kuala Lumpur, in Cheras.
Cheras.
Velodrome closed, the land went to a developer. So
So is it more of the process under which these activities take place, or is it how would I say it? Is it something that shouldn't have happened in the first instance?
shouldn't have happened in the first instance.
So let's say a velodrome. I mean, I'm just trying to be objective here. If, for example, we have a velodrome in Nilai now, I think the national cycling velodrome.
Yeah.
I can't recall visiting the one in Cheras, but let's just say it's a white elephant now. I don't know. I just
No,
say-
the thing,
but
you see, the velodrome in somewhere
Nilai.
on the way to Nilai
yes,
was purpose built for the Commonwealth Games.
yes,
Before that, the KL velodrome was the place.
was the place. Yes,
right?
okay.
And anybody could go and use. Now, what is the use of taking away a public amenity? Now, let me give you another example of
Okay.
this nonsense. There is no playing field in Kuala Lumpur, right? Except for the Royal Selangor Club, which is a private club. I will tell you, there was the SCRC field in along Jalan Pudu.
Yes, yes.
Is now gone. Okay.
Gone.
There was a field in Postal's ground in Imbi Road, right?
Okay.
That has gone.
Gone.
The Postal Club has gone.
Yeah.
All the government quarters has gone.
Yeah.
So, what field is left?
But okay, that's an issue. Fine.
But how was this land?
But then the process under which these lands get alienated for other use.
Yes.
And then who gains the rights to do whatever they want to do with this land? It's another question, lah.
No. How do you change the status of the land, which is for recreational purposes, to commercial?
Yeah, but I'm sure there is like a KL master plan. I mean, I know for one, the one that I live nearby in Tamatun Dr. Ismail is the Kiara.
Yeah.
The Kiara land that was an issue,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
initially there was a developer
Yes.
who was, given the rights to develop it.
No. Let me put it in the correct context.
Okay.
City Hall gave the land
Yes.
to Yayasan Wilayah Persekutuan,
Yes.
right? Which entered into a JV, joint venture, with the developer.
Yes.
Right. So can you see why does
The
why
foundation.
does the Yayasan want to do this?
I mean, not just that. I mean, that particular case also was a case where the land itself was part of a green lung.
Yes.
It was never meant to be a developed,
Yes.
property.
But that is
land.
not the first case. I will
Yeah,
give you another
yeah.
case. In Bandar Utama, land was allocated for a cemetery.
Okay.
On the cemetery land now are condos. To replace that land, Selangor government de-gazetted forest reserve and made it into a cemetery.
I see. Okay.
So you see all these happenings, you have to
Yeah.
speak out.
Yeah. If there's no one who makes it known that people are not just being taken for a ride,
Yeah.
so I think that's your role. Your role is to maybe act on behalf of the people to say, hey, come on, man, we're not stupid, right? We see things just because not everyone speaks up about it. We're not ignorant about it. Okay, I'm going to ask you a topic about currently maybe top of people's minds. If you're allowed to comment on it, is this this case about Datuk Sri Najib's conversion to house arrest.
Yeah.
What's your point of view?
I think it's for the judge or the judges to decide,
Yeah.
right? Anyway, I've read the Prisons Act. I've asked experienced lawyers about it. There's no provision for house arrest. However, the minister may designate any area for detention. All right?
Any area for detention?
And
okay.
detention. But does it mean house arrest? That is the legal point they got to argue. So for me, as I said, let the judge decide.
Yeah.
It's no use we talking about it
Yeah.
if the judges or the Court of Appeal or the federal court rules otherwise.
Yeah. I guess especially today with social media, there's just so many parties expressing their points of views, and whether or not they are qualified, they don't really care.
You
So I
see-
guess in your case, you are one of the more qualified points of views, I guess.
No, I don't consider myself qualified. I actually do a lot of research before writing.
Yeah.
Only today it has brought to my attention that a video clip of mine, something like this, has been used in a scam ad. Okay, so whom can you trust on social media? For
Yeah.
me, as I said, I spent before writing my last article, I spent an hour going through TikTok, and the kind of things that appear there. You see, I am asking why the same standards we apply to newspapers and news portals are not used on people who use social media. Once in a way, we hear about this. You know, in my case, before some of my articles appeared, it went through lawyers to make sure we comply with the laws. They're not defamatory.
And you yourself are a qualified lawyer. So
I
you
don't
need
say
to,
qualified. I
Yeah.
got a degree in law.
Yeah.
So the point to note is this: because you have been so lax with this, for reasons known to themselves, right? No action is taken against certain quarters at all. They are free to continue breaking the law. Nothing happens. Whereas others who just utter one or two words are picked up and held overnight. So that is again
Yeah.
prompts people to think that there's selective prosecution.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that perception.
See, there's no control on social media. The onus is, the argument is the onus is on the platform owners. If I publish an article which you write in the newspaper, if it's seditious, even the newspaper is charged.
Yes.
All right.
Versus
So-
the writer.
And the writer.
And the writer,
Okay?
okay.
In the case of social media, has Facebook or TikTok or anyone been charged?
No.
No.
And as you say,
So
like, they
this
can
is
write
what
anything.
I'm saying. You make an example. They wouldn't dare do it in Singapore.
Yeah.
They will lock you up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here we give that freedom.
Yeah.
We have allowed it to happen. Now
Yeah.
it's beyond control.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the powers that be, the government of the day, in some ways, they need to be ready to counter any such, say, malicious lies, but at the same time, they have to allow that freedom of...
No, I'm
it's
absolute,
crazy.
I have absolute support for freedom of speech, freedom of expression. But you can't use that freedom to spread hatred,
Yeah,
right? That is
Yeah.
no with me.
yeah,
But if you look, my phone is somewhere else. I got all the messages that I've come across.
really.
They really, they should be locked up.
Such untoward. Eh? Okay. Well, I mean, these sort of conversations are interesting. They're very enlightening, and I hope people reflect that there are still individuals like yourself out there who are for the right cause. I think the field of investigative journalism also is a dying breed. Would you say?
You see, the thing is this. I think editors are not willing to invest in time, invest time in investigative reporting, because sometimes an investigation can take 2 months.
I see.
And I had a problem
Yeah.
with people, the owners or the owners' rep, who did not understand journalism. Hey, already 1 month I didn't see any of your stories,
I
right? And you dare not even tell him what you're working on,
Yeah.
because some of them are secret, some of them involve big names. So you have to find some excuse.
Yeah.
But if you're lucky, you can sort out an investigation in 2-3 days. Like me, I got this news.
Takes time.
I made an appointment with someone for Wednesday, next Wednesday.
Okay.
And today is Wednesday. One week just
Yeah.
to go to the site.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
getting the documents is another roadblock. So it'll take time.
Yeah.
So editors are not willing to invest time because I heard these days news reporters got quota for each day. In my
Really,
time
to produce.
in my time
Whether
there
it's
was no such
newsworthy
thing.
or not is the second question. Huh? Okay. I just sort of want to conclude maybe by seeking your point of view, and maybe it's a piece of word of advice or so, because of this truth deficiency syndrome that I think we are facing. We as the rakyat, we're not really sure what to believe anymore. And I think, in fairness to those who want to tell the truth, but because the truth also is being filtered or even suspect, what's your advice actually to say the powers that be when it comes to tackling this thing about being more credible and being more worthy for people to believe? What's your advice?
My thing is, get your facts before you open your mouth.
Yeah.
Right? You see, in the case of Anwar Ibrahim on the temple issue,
Yes.
as I wrote today, had he got the facts before agreeing to lay the foundation stone, he would have deferred it.
Kan?
The people who gave him the information, gave him wrong information, I believe so.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That is why he said the temple is illegal.
Mm.
Right? And then he declared victory.
And had to retract his statement.
Yeah. So why all this would have not arisen
Yeah.
if he had asked for the correct info, or rather he was provided
Yeah.
the right information.
Yeah.
Right? So this is one example of not having enough information with you and
Yeah.
opening your mouth.
Yeah.
Right? So it has backfired spectacularly.
Yeah.
Right?
And there have been so many cases of decisions being announced and then retracted hardly a day
You see,
after.
since you raised this, many years ago I asked the Attorney General then, Pandi Ali, said, Tan Sri, what recourse do we have when ministers claim they were misquoted when they were not? I've got tape recordings of what he said. He said, sue them. His reply. I said, it's insulting me. It's defamatory because people think I misquoted him.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So our politicians have a favorite line: misquoted or misinterpreted or misunderstood. Okay. So I have stood up and said, no, this was what you said and this is exactly what was reported.
Was reported.
Yeah.
Easy
So
excuse.
this syndrome of opening your mouth without knowing the facts is common.
Yeah. I think more so today in the pressure of time and social media and what public perception is so fast. Somehow or other, they're not getting it right lah. Yeah.
You see, if you look at the clips on TikTok, they've taken excerpts of the speech, right, and put it together and presented a totally different story altogether. So how do you stop this? You act against them, but the moment you are reluctant to do it, right? The guys carry on. More people think nothing.
Yeah.
This can be done.
Yeah.
And they add on.
And with some without fear of repercussions also. I think even more so now with the AI and all these things, you just don't know what to believe anymore. You know. But anyway, Nades, you're not the scariest man in Malaysia anymore. Pleasant man, I must say. Thank you so much for meeting us and even accommodating our request to be, on our podcast. As you know, our podcast is not meant to pick on politics or controversial issues. But you are a professional. You are a leader in what you do.
I'm not a member of any organisation.
Yes.
Card-carrying member.
Yes.
Except the Royal Saigon Club, which I joined 35 years ago to play cricket. Okay.
And they love to hear your stories, I'm sure, at the club.
And I don't take sides. If it's wrong, it's wrong. If it's right, it's right.
Yeah.
That kind of stand I take.
Yeah.
And if they made a mistake, they better be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much again for sharing your stories, and we respect what you do, and it's not easy to do what you're doing, and you're so passionate about it. We can only wish you good health, peace of mind, and continue to do what you feel is right, I guess. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you
for joining us today.
Thank you.
There we go. Thank you so much again. I hope that you found the content of today's podcast worthy of listening and reflecting. I hope that meeting Citizen Nades after all these years or so is a nice reflection of how things also used to be. And I think as Malaysians, we deserve the right to be able to think straight, be intelligent, and make the right choices based on facts and information that we know are sound and worthy. So, till we see you again, thank you again for joining us. We look forward to your continued support, and we wish you well, and we look forward to joining you again in another episode soon. Till then, Assalamualaikum, have a good day, have a good rest of the week, everyone. Bye now.